Howdy there once again, YouTube. My name is Ben Ferraiuolo, and I am a beginner amateur seismologist who is hopefully going to join the University of Washington by the end of next year to advance my career in seismology. That's what I want to do, and that's what I'm going to push myself to do. But right now, we do have some earthquakes on the Cascadia subduction zone. I'd like to talk about this first. It's down south. Remember, we did have sort of like a little bit of swarming. Well, when was that? Was that about a month ago? I think it was about a little less than a month ago. It was up here, multiple sixes. One was almost a 7.0. It was pretty strong, very strange type of swarm to occur right up here too. But this time we have it right down here, right off the coast of the southern Oregon, Northern California border. And we do have, let's see, 4.5, 4.1. Oh, before I start, guys, you should go see Scott's channel. He just uploaded a video about the Seattle fault system and about the recent eruptions in Hawaii. Please go check out his channel. It's the NW Geology guy. For the Northwest Geology guy. And I'll post a link to that in the description box below. Please always check the description box, especially go visit my website, https://monitorsize.weebly.com. The link is down below in the description box as well, right under my email address. So go check their channels out too. And Orange Ribbon Hope has a cool online streaming program thingamabob for spectrograms, certain select spectrograms from around the country, I believe, using Swarm. So you can go check out his channel too. I'll leave a link to that in the description box as well. But I just wanted to talk about a few things today. First, I'm going to start with this. We do have some earthquakes. Now, this is right on, let's see, right south of the Blanco fracture zone, which is almost like a straight line. Check out how the geometry is, pretty much. Look at how straight some of these lines are, going all the way out into the sea, which is pretty freaky to me. Here, let me scoot this over just a little bit and zoom out like that. It almost looks like the path of the tectonic plates shifting. Look at that. They look like scrapes. One here, one here, one here, and one here. Very weird. But yeah, we do have some swarming on the Cascadia subduction zone. Let's look at the magnitudes that they have reported real quick. Let's see, they are reporting 8 for this area right here. 3 of them happened pretty much on the coast of Northern California, so those aren't too worrying, but they're still very close. They could be stress quakes from this swarm that's currently going on right now. That's currently unknown. Sorry if I sound a little nasally, guys. I am sick. Again, this is the second time I've had actually, I think this is the third time I've had a cold in the past month. Yeah, I've been getting sick with colds a lot lately. But good thing they're just colds. They're just minor colds. No flus, no fevers. I actually don't think I've gotten a flu or a fever for 5-10 years. And guess what? I've never taken a flu shot in my life. And I never get the flu. Ever. Because I got the flu probably once a month when I was a kid. And now I have such a high tolerance to the flu that even when people are around me and they have it, I never get it. Because I have such a high tolerance, because I built up that natural tolerance. You know, people can say what they want with flu shots, but personally, I don't like them. I think the body should build up a natural immunity to it, because that's what my body did, and now I never get sick. Unless it's like a cold. Colds still get me. So, let's see, we got a 2.5 in California, right on that. Oh, looks like someone felt it. 3.9 off Gold Beach, right here. That's part of the Cascadia small swarm going on. Magnitudes only went to 4.5, nothing major, nothing like the swarm that we saw off the coast of Vancouver Island just a few weeks ago. That was pretty crazy. 4.1, let's see how many people felt it real quick. If it'll go. Come on, my computer's very slow. 3 people said they felt this 4.1 earthquake. Alright, let's go back real quick. 4.5. At 10 kilometers in depth. Let's check this out real quick. See how many people felt it. And only one person. So wait, 3 people felt the 4.1, but only one person felt the 4.5. That's weird. Let's check out the map real quick and see where this guy was when, or girl, when they felt the earthquake. Let's see. Where is it? I don't see it. I'm not seeing the report. No way. Holy crap. Look, that's all the way up by Portland. Look at that. Here's where the 4.5 happened. Look at that. Well, remember when the 6.8 or 7.0 struck up here with a bunch of other sixes? People all the way in downtown Seattle and Tacoma and Olympia actually felt the 6.8, 7.0 earthquake that happened up there a few weeks ago. So it can travel pretty far, guys. It can travel pretty far. So let's go back real quick. Let's look at the other earthquakes. All right, the next one was a 3.8 at 10 kilometers in depth as well. Let's see, 2.5 near Geysers, California. 2.7 near Petrolia. And then a 3.5 off the coast, Cascadia subduction zone again. The most recent was this 3.5 at 10 kilometers in depth at 10:45 UTC on November 16, 2018. So we do definitely have some earthquakes going on again. It seems like this year, Cascadia subduction zone has been a little more active than last year. When I do my earthquake reported totals, because usually at the end of each year, I like to create some statistics. I've created statistics for many volcanoes and the Cascadia subduction zone on my website, the yearly earthquake counts. And they go back pretty far, but I like to do it once a year so I can see at least and get an idea of how earthquake activity progressed throughout the years, you know? I mean, of course, it's only reliant on reported earthquakes, because if I went through every single day's seismic activity, I mean, I can go through a lot of seismic data, guys. I can go through a lot of seismic data in a very short period of time. But I'm talking about a whole year's worth from multiple seismic stations. I mean, do you know how long that would take? That would take forever. So it kind of sucks that I have to rely on previous reported earthquake counts, especially when they're far lower at like Yellowstone and some other places. God, I don't know why. When they do have a good seismic array down there. But yeah, so we'll see how that turns out. See if this has been a more active year. Now, I do know it has been a more active year for Steamboat Geyser. And I think my mic cut out there. Whoops. Oh, and just a heads up, we did have let's see, what was this? It was a 6.2 near Solomon Islands at 10.6 kilometers in depth. And then we had this 6.3 in the southern East Pacific Rise. This is just the past day, guys. I have the setting set to 1 day, all magnitudes, US. And so, magnitude 6.3, 10.0 kilometers in depth. 5.2 near the Drake Passage, and an aftershock of 4.9. We also had a 5.0 near the Visokoi Islands, South Georgia, and the South Sandwich Islands. I wonder if they make good sandwiches. They better. And southwestern Atlantic Ocean, we had a 5.2, very close to Antarctica. Now, they said they found some ancient continents in Antarctica. I'm very skeptical. Very skeptical. I like to approach everything with skepticism, no matter what it is, guys, because that way you'll never be deceived. Never. So they found some old cratons down there, some old continents, but even though it could be somewhat stable, why don't we ever see earthquakes occurring down here? I never, ever see earthquakes being reported, ever, for Antarctica. Never on the ice. Once in a great while, it'll be right here or on the Antarctic Circle, but I never, ever, ever see any. And they do, in this area right here where this island is, they do have some seismic stations right there. So they should be sufficient enough, and they do, I believe they do have a couple on this edge right here as well. So they should be able to locate earthquakes, or at least report them if they do occur. Are they occurring? Then they did say that the ice is melting in Antarctica. And, you know, people could say what they want. Oh, it's global warming. Oh, it's this. Personally, I believe it's volcanic in nature. With the rise of volcanic activity throughout the world, I do not believe it is greenhouse gases or whatever they like to say. It's definitely volcanoes. Because, remember, there was an article put out about 6 months ago. I'll try to find it in a bit. Said that they found like 10,000, I don't know if that's an exact number, but it was definitely more than 1,000. So maybe like 10,000 volcanoes under the ice, under Antarctica, and off in the ocean too. This area is very volcanic. A lot of old cones underneath the water, all around here. Pretty much, actually, look under the ocean everywhere in the world. There is like volcanoes everywhere. So now, I just want to talk about Steamboat Geyser, just real quick. Hey there, so I now just went to my website on my Seismo blog. This is my new blog post that I did post last night. Let's talk about Steamboat real quick. So, hey guys, I have some interesting stuff, blah, 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 blah. Continue this post, quick title or quick read more. Alright, let's go to the 27th Steamboat Eruption. And here's the seismic trace on YNM. At 1804 UTC, November 15th, 2018, which is also 11:04 a.m. Mountain Time, November 15, 2018, Steamboat Geyser, which resides in the Norris Geyser Basin at Yellowstone National Park in Caldera, erupted for the 27th time in 2018. Now, as some of you may know, if the eruption total reaches 30 eruptions before this year is over, then that means this will have been the most active year for Steamboat Geyser in recorded history. Now, the current record is 29 eruptions in 1 year. 1964. 2018 may be the year of Steamboat eruptions. Steamboat is also erupting with frightening regularity, much like it did when the 2018 eruptions first started in March and April. However, now it seems to be on almost an exact weekly schedule. Now, how is it possible something natural can be this regular? Well, Old Faithful in the Upper Geyser Basin is another geyser that erupts with frightening regularity, though a little bit less lately. It's been a little unfaithful lately. But if this pattern continues with Steamboat throughout the next year, erupting once per week, then 2019 will most likely be pretty crazy. Below here are the helicorder images for station YNM and YNR. Those are the only two stations that ever detect these large hydrothermal eruptions. But why is that? Even borehole 950 should feel these eruptions, right? Since it's just right next to YNR. Well, please click here, and I have a button that says click here for you to click there. Let me go down. Okay. To see my reasoning on why it is the most likely that these seismic stations, YNM and YNR, are only detecting surface vibrations, not the free flow of superheated water leading to the eruption itself. As you will see below, YNR barely felt this event at all, but YNM still felt this eruption, as he usually does. This eruption was somewhat weak in comparison to recent Steamboat eruptions, but is still quite strong for any hydrothermal eruption. Steamboat is it's a pretty big beast, guys. It's a very big geyser. Also notice that it lasted pretty long, almost 2 whole hours. And here's the helicorder for YNR. Let me go down real quick. Alright, again, as you will see below, this eruption was a little bit weaker than previous Steamboat eruptions, but it seems like it lasted much longer. In the following seismogram spectrogram spectral plots, please keep in mind you should always read chart labels first before you read the data. Yes, guys, that goes for everything in life. Also, please pay attention to any image captions. Here's the trace of Steamboat's 27th hydrothermal eruption of 2018 from seismic station YNM. Notice that the amplitude count does confirm this eruption was smaller than recent Steamboat eruptions, but we see that it lasted for more than 2 hours. That is really, really long for a hydrothermal eruption, guys. Also notice that it appears it started with a quick burst. Notice that? Started with a quick burst, died down, and then continued the main eruption. Note the dominant high frequencies that drop dramatically across short distances, showing that this is most likely surface vibrations from the eruption only, which I explained in the article that I left a link to in this blog post. Let's go down real quick. Look at this. Now, usually we don't have a hard time at all seeing the Steamboat eruption seismic trace on YNR. However, today it seemed, once again, much weaker, but it lasted much longer. Now, I used red arrows to show you the beginning point of the Steamboat eruption. If you kind of look at the image from a distance and kind of squint your eyes, you can actually see it right here. This is where the eruption started, 1804 UTC. So it did show up on YNR, but just barely, like, at all. Now remember, it did start at 1804 UTC, and the times on these plots are always in UTC. Now, let's talk about the magnitude 2.1 earthquake that occurred near Federal Way, Washington. At 1558 UTC, November 14, 2018, which is also 7:28 a.m. Pacific Time, November 14, 2018, a magnitude 2.1 earthquake struck near Federal Way in Washington State at 21.5 kilometers in depth. Now, normally I really don't report on these small quakes that much around my house. Well, it's not around my house, but you know what I mean. But this one was felt by many people, even up where I live. Check that out. Look at this. As you can see in the image above, this earthquake, represented by a black star, was felt around the epicenter, but was also felt up north by a few people. Check that out. Notice the blue box up north? That is very close to where I live, so I probably would have felt this earthquake. Well, at least if I wasn't sleeping. Below, right here, is the helicorder for the second closest station to this event, VVHS. I know it looks like a W, but those are two V's, guys. Along with the seismogram, spectrogram, spectral plots. For the helicorder image, please note the location of the earthquake is on the right side of the chart, in between the 1530 and 1630 time marks on the right-hand side. It is somewhat hard to see. And there's the earthquake right there, guys. Yeah, it wasn't too big, but it's still a good amount of people felt it, which I found was very interesting. And there it is. And notice dominant high frequencies. I think the strongest frequency, let's see, where's the tallest spike on the spectral plot? Right here. I'm going to say 4 hertz. Probably almost exactly 4 hertz, excuse me. But it had a broad range of frequencies. It started to die down at about 20 hertz though. So, and it lasted almost a whole minute. Almost a whole minute. So, Soda Springs, Idaho, guys. The swarming is continuing. And I believe this could be connected to the September 2017 Soda Springs earthquake swarm, possibly stress from that swarm. So it seems earthquake activity near Soda Springs, Idaho has picked back up. On September 2nd, 2017, which was a little bit more than a year ago, guys, there's an extremely large earthquake swarm near this same area. And it's on my video to-do list. Yes, I actually have a video to-do list. It's on my to-do list to make a video about the September 2017 Soda Springs earthquake swarm. So that'll be coming out soon, but I still have to put it together. Now, this swarm had many people wanting to move for good who had lived in that area for so long. USGS stated it was a purely tectonic swarm. You know, sometimes I might agree with that, but I highly doubt that with this. And again, as I say, sometimes I would agree with them on some things, if the data proves it, of course. But this swarm, in September of 2017 in Soda Springs, Idaho, was far too large, and the magnitude stayed around the 3.0 to 4.3 range for months after the swarm ended. After the swarm started. Sorry, guys. I just woke up a few hours ago. To me, that was odd for a tectonic-only swarm. Now, that is not the only thing, or the most important thing. Now, guys, remember how during the recent Kilauea and Lower East Rift Zone eruptions, the magma shifted quite quickly away from the Kilauea summit and off towards the east-northeast? Well, when this occurred, the nearby tilt meters and GPS stations confirmed that the ground was subsiding, also called dropping or deflating, and moving toward the LERS, the Lower East Rift Zone, towards the east-northeast. During the September 2017 Soda Springs sequence, the GPS deformation instruments at Yellowstone detected that the ground dropped. Of course not by a huge amount to feel like immediately, but large enough to suggest something was leaving the magma chamber or reservoir. And the ground actually started to head towards the south-southwest. To me, that means some amount of magma left the Yellowstone chamber or reservoir system and somehow ended up over 100 miles. Somehow, guys, I don't even know how it could travel that far without creating a path of large earthquakes in its midst. I don't know. But that's what happened pretty much in Kilauea, I'm pretty sure. It's very weird. Again, to me, that means some amount of magma left the Yellowstone chamber reservoir system and somehow ended up over 100 miles to the southwest at Soda Springs, Idaho. Of course, that is just a theory right now, and I have very little to prove it besides the GPS data. But that is my opinion on the Soda Springs 2017 earthquake swarm. Now, just about a week or so ago, the swarm started to reactivate. It is currently unknown what this means or exactly how long it will last. But the largest earthquake so far since the reactivation was a magnitude 3.8 at 11 kilometers in depth at 9:33 UTC, November 15, 2018. As you can see in the image directly above this text, which is this one right here, the 3.8 occurred just south, here's 3.8, of all the other earthquakes to occur. In this image, the red star represents the location for seismic station AHID, which resides closest to the swarm, at least out of all the stations I could find on the IRIS list. It is quite close to the epicenter of the swarm, so it can still give us some pretty good data. Now, let me go here. Here is the helicorder. The image below is the helicorder for AHID in the U.S. network. You can see multiple earthquakes and many aftershocks after the 3.8 occurred. Look at that. Good amount of earthquakes, guys. In my opinion, I believe this earthquake was downgraded far too much. I think it was more like a 4.0, 4.1, maybe even a 4.2 or a 4.3. But a 3.8, to me a 3.8 seems a little low. The events near the end of the helicorder, right here, are emergent and appear to be surface noise with a few smaller earthquakes thrown in the mix. Let me go down to the plot right here. The following seismogram spectrogram spectral plots were generated by myself using the program Swarm and data retrieved from seismic station AHID, code US AHID00BHZ. Since this is a broadband station, I added a 0.8 Hz high-pass filter, meaning all frequencies below 0.8 Hz are not shown. Don't worry, guys. If something's volcanic, even a low-frequency event, it will show above 0.8 Hz. Trust me. I mean, Take for example, if you're worried that it won't show harmonic tremor or something like that. Harmonic tremor and many other things usually occur always above 1 Hz. So you'd still see it. For example, the harmonic tremor sequence and volcanic tremor sequences at Veniaminoff in Alaska right now. And it's kind of going back and forth from harmonic to volcanic, from harmonic to volcanic. But it's occurring at about 2 Hz. I mean, it goes up and down a little bit. Goes probably all the way down to 1.5, maybe up to 2.5, but it's mainly around 2 Hz. And that's usually what harmonic tremor sequences and volcanic tremor sequences look like. That's usually the frequency they're around. It's about 1.5 Hz, 2 Hz, 3 Hz, never above 5 Hz usually. Alright, remember you always need to read the chart labels first and pay attention to any image captions you see. Here you can see the 3.8 earthquake with many aftershocks. There is currently nothing to indicate this swarm is caused by anything but stress accumulating from the September 2017 earthquake swarm. However, that could change at any moment. Please note the amplitude count was manipulated to make the other smaller quakes appear. The initial 3.8 far exceeded the 5,000 amplitude count shown. And here's the next one. This earthquake was reported to be a magnitude 2.9 at 8.5 kilometers in depth. Let's go to this one, and this one was reported to be a 2.2 earthquake at 8.7 kilometers in depth. And then let's go to the 3.8 right here. Now here's the large 3.8 earthquake. According to the amplitude count, I feel a magnitude of 3.8 is lower than what it should be. Maybe 4.1, 4.2? But notice how this earthquake had dominant frequencies. Look at the spectral plot, guys. Look at this. It had dominant frequencies below 5 Hz. Of course, this is not a low-frequency earthquake, and it has power and many other high frequencies. But the dominant frequencies are a little lower than what I would expect, which I find is very odd. Now check this out, guys. There's a magnitude 1.4 earthquake near New Jersey and New York. Very strange location. So, I saw recently that an earthquake occurred on the east coast of the United States. Sometimes I report on them and sometimes I don't. However, this past year, it seems seismicity has slightly increased for the east coast in very strange locations for reasons currently unknown to me. But this earthquake is extremely weird. I'm only reporting it because USGS reported it. If the reporting to USGS was bound to me for the East Coast, for this area, I probably would not have reported it, since it looks absolutely nothing like an earthquake. But the data is conclusive. This event appeared on multiple surrounding stations, meaning this was real, and that it did occur underground. Which I find is very odd for, you'll see in a second. The red circle in the image right here represents the magnitude 1.4 earthquake that struck at 5 kilometers in depth at 8:23 UTC November 15, 2018. Notice the reported epicenter is beyond the coast, under the water between Long Island and New Jersey. The data seems pretty conclusive that this was an earthquake. However, as you will see in a second, this earthquake was extremely peculiar. Below are 2 helicorder images. Let me scroll down real quick. One for BRNJ and one for CPNY. Both of these stations are in the LD network on the East Coast. You can see the location of these stations in the map above that I just showed. I must tell you, though, that finding this earthquake on the helicorders is almost impossible. These were the closest seismic stations I could find for this earthquake. Man, the seismologist must have had a hard time locating this puppy dog, even with an in-depth seismological tool. But you can see there's the earthquake right there. Yeah, barely can see it. And look, with all the background noise and CPNY, you can barely see it, but that's it right there. Look at all the other surface noise, though. These do not show on surrounding stations, but this one did. Okay, let's go down. Aha, check this out, guys. It is very weird looking. The following images are the seismogram spectrogram spectral plots for these two stations for this earthquake. Remember, as always, please read the chart labels first before you look at the data, and pay attention to any captions beneath any images. So, right here we have CPNY. Here's the 1.4 earthquake. Notice how it looks extremely similar to surface noise, guys. Extremely similar. There aren't even really any low frequencies at all. Most earthquakes, even of the highest frequencies, still have strong low frequencies. They may not be dominant, but they are still there. However, this earthquake has no low frequencies whatsoever. I would have overlooked this as surface activity, but the data proves it was a real earthquake. How could this be? This for sure was a very, very weird earthquake, guys. To me, it still looks like surface noise. That doesn't look like an earthquake to me at all. That is exactly what surface noise looks like. But it's an earthquake. It's an earthquake. I even looked at the data. It is. I don't know how, but it is. Now, even though this station, BRNJ, did not feel this earthquake as strong, it looks like the quake was easier to see. Once again, please note the dominant high frequencies with very specific spikes shown on the spectral plot. Look at that. They're not even broad. They're very specific. Very, very specific. Once again, this was a very weird earthquake. So that's it for now, guys. We looked at some interesting stuff today. And now I'm off to discover why eastern northeastern Wyoming is seeing some strange earthquake activity with dominant low frequencies. And it is happening closest to station RSSD in the IU network, which is on the border between Wyoming and South Dakota. It's happening closest to that station there, but it's also showing closer. The second closest station to see it is YPK in Yellowstone, so it might be happening in eastern northeastern Wyoming, but I do not understand how earthquakes could happen over there, because that's supposed to be solid craton, guys. It's supposed to be very stable rock. It's not supposed to have very many earthquakes at all. Of course, it's possible, but these earthquakes show very low frequencies, which I thought was very odd. So once I figure out what's going on with that, it's not really an earthquake swarm. But it's very weird. I'll show you guys later, because I'm working on it right now. I'm talking to some of the professionals about it before I show you guys, because I really need some professional advice on these events that are occurring near eastern northeastern Wyoming. So, yeah, so also go check out Scott's channel, the NW Geology Guy. Also, please go check my website, https://monitorsize.weebly.com. And my son is freaking out a little bit. I think I gotta go, guys. It's been good, and I gotta go watch my son. My daughter's still taking a nap. They're very grumpy today because I think they're getting sick too. Man, we've all just been getting pretty sick lately today. Steamboat erupted for the 27th time and needs to erupt 3 more times to beat the all-time record of 29 eruptions. Yeah, so if this keeps happening even through next year, and it keeps this pattern of erupting about once per week, then wow, 2019 will see far more eruptions than 2018. Alright, guys, I'll probably be back soon. Just keep an eye on my blog posts, because I might do a blog post first before my next video. Have a great day, guys, and God bless. Remember, the truth is considered hate or fear to those who hate or fear the truth. Have a great day. Ben Ferraiuolo signing off.